Today I've got some new Shabby Chic Rustic Easter decor. Keep watching. I'm Brandy, and this is Making It My Own DIYs. Welcome back. The first is going to be a Easter or spring wreath. I've got some of these little willow picks, and these came from Dollar Tree. Some floral wire. I'm going to be cutting these in half, so we'll have 4 pieces. This little sign that I got, it's tin. I got it from Temu. It's got little holes already in it. This is something that I thrifted. It looks like it might have come from Big Lots at one time. Just really pretty roses. And this is a wreath that I also thrifted. Most of the wreaths are thrifted. Here's some measurements for you. I like this one because it is vine, which is very rustic, and because I can just work so well with these. You don't have to use as much glue. I've got some recycled, or I'm going to be reusing this beautiful fern and some of these evergreen picks. I want it to look woodsy. You can see the size of it. It looks like an Easter egg, which is perfect. And it's long enough that I can put my sign right in the middle. So for this wreath, I'm going to go ahead and start off by putting the sign down first. I'm just going to wrap it, put it through the hole, wrap it around, and just go right through the vines all the way to the back and twist those in place. This way I don't have to use any glue, nothing's going to pop off, and it's going to stay there. This is easy to do. If you have holes in your sign and you don't have floral wire like this, you can use paddle wire, or you can use something like a pipe cleaner. You could also probably use jute. So I'm just going to start, now that we have that pretty little shabby chic sign, I'm going to start putting down some of the greenery pieces. I'm putting the darker color in the background, and then we'll put the fern on the top. So I'm just going to push these through. If you have little places like I do on this vine where it wraps around to hold the vine pieces together, utilize those. Go ahead and kind of weave that greenery in and out of there. It's a pretty look, and it also will help hold things in place so you don't have to use as much glue. If you need to grab some wiring, you can also use that to help hold everything down. And you can use a little hot glue. You'll see me do the hot glue here and there as needed. Just going to push that through. Very easy to do here. And if you accidentally pop off a piece of your greenery, most of the time you can just reattach it by putting it right back on the little spike that it was originally on. So don't worry about that. Don't let that deter you from doing your work. Now you'll notice the greenery that I'm using, like I mentioned, these are pieces that I've taken off of other projects. Sometimes I'll get a wreath that I thrift that I don't necessarily like, or it needs a little bit of extra love, but there may be some pieces on there that are nice enough to be used in other projects, and I've done that a lot in the past, and I still hang on to these. These pieces of greenery, they were also in a Christmas sleigh decoration that I did, so I'm getting a lot of use out of them. And I encourage you to do the same thing. No sense in spending your money if you don't have to. Grab what you have. I'm going to go to the bottom. Now that I've got my sides kind of built up, I'll go to the bottom and start on there. You'll notice on each side I have the greenery going upward on each side. This is not like a circular wreath where we go all clockwise or counterclockwise. This one is going up the left side, up the right side. It kind of joins in the middle. We're going to do something special in the middle that I think you might like. You see here, I'm just using a little glue, and since the greenery is thin, use something that you can help to hold those things in place where you're not putting your fingers down in that hot glue, or put your finger protectors on. Now don't be afraid to tuck your greenery behind the signs that you use. And y'all, if you don't have a sign like this, go get you something from Dollar Tree. They have some really pretty signs as well. I'll add a little glue where I think it needs a little extra support. I don't want it flopping around, I want it to look as free as possible and have movement, but I don't want it to be flopping around where it might fall off or look not so pretty once you get it hung up. Okay, so now we're going to take some of those willow branches and I'll trim those off. I don't like the greenery on the bottom, but if you do, you can go ahead and use that. It's just kind of frayed on the bunches that I picked up, so I think I used 3 bunches on here because I do put them in initially and then I go back and add more. Okay, so now the ferns, we're going to start adding those on the bottom, and I'm going to do, I think I end up using 5 or 6 pieces of the fern here, but you can see what I'm doing. Sometimes I get out of the angle of the lens on the camera, and I apologize for that. I just, in the moment when I am feeling the flow, I just go with it and I just keep creating. But you can see, I always try to show you, the final results in the end. You definitely get a good look. And then I'll pick this up and show you from time to time so you're getting a good look of what's going on in case you've missed anything. Now I'm going to do little bunches of 3. This is not going to be symmetrical at this point. This is going to be more wild and rustic and woodland looking, right? So you could say rustic, you could say woodland, and you could also say vintage or shabby chic for this because it's got a lot of different elements. Feel like you have to lock yourself into the box of being a creator who only does farmhouse or who only does rustic. Play around with what you're creating, and if it's bringing you joy and you really, really like it and you're having fun with it, there's nothing wrong with that. That's perfect for you and that's perfect for me. So if you need any little extra help with your greenery, just, glue it to each other. Really easy. This is kind of a plasticky fern, and I do know that you can get little fern picks at Dollar Tree as well. Now I'm going to add the willow in. I've got them all cut in manageable pieces. It pretty much will push straight down into that vine wreath, which is wonderful. I can reuse a good vine wreath over and over again. All right. Now I'm going to add, and sometimes I'll move things around when I get them in. If I don't like the position they're in, I'll just move them around a little bit, which works for me. And I don't have glue on here yet, so I can do that. Then when it's exactly where I want it to be, I can glue it in place. I'm going to continue along here and add some around those fern pieces. And you can see that I have one of the bunches of ferns higher up than the other bunch. If you want yours to be symmetrical, though, you can definitely go straight across from it and do it that way. And if there's any pieces that you don't like in your project that I'm using, I always encourage you on this channel to make it your own. Go ahead and make whatever colors you like. I've chosen these colors and the little roses here because they match what I have in my sign. But you can certainly play around with any colors that are springy or Eastery to you. Now I'm going to add a little bit of glue here, and then I'm going to use a couple of pieces of that floral wire to put straight down into that wreath and without squishing up the greenery I have under there. So I want to make sure that I kind of weave it through so that everything else still has movement, but that these roses will not fall off. So I'm making almost a hairpin shape here and feeding it through across the wire and into the wreath below it, and then I'll twist it in the back. Always, always go back and cut everything off because you don't want to scratch your door, you don't want to scratch your wall. I'm going to make these look a little more wild by just kind of weaving the flowers around the greenery and vice versa. One more little pick down in here to hold that around in its place, and I really like that. Now these are some eggs that I got in the gardening, I guess it's the gardening section from Dollar Tree. Really like them. I think they're intended to stay in the carton because they had glue on them, but all you have to do is just pick that hot glue off of it and you can use these anywhere. I've also picked up this knife here, which is a styrofoam or a pool noodle knife, and it works really good on these little eggs. So I'm trying to get a flat side here, and I can stretch my dollar here by using one egg in 2 different places. So I'm going to add this part of the brown egg over here, almost like the bunny has hidden some eggs, and then I'll use the smaller piece on this side. Again, kind of tucked into the greenery so it looks like, perhaps it's time for the egg hunt. And then I'm going to add some right here in the bottom. Just adding one more egg here. I just thought that it needed a little something extra. And then the little bits of greenery that I have left, I'll just poke those in here or there. If you want to stop at this point, you can certainly hang it right off the back of that wreath. But if you want to do a little extra, I'll show you how to make a small bow to go on the top. You might like this, or you might like a rag bow, whatever you prefer in yours. And I'm just going to fold this over on itself. This is about, it looks like about 8 inches, right? So I'm going to fold this over on itself so I have 2 loops on the left and 2 loops on the right. Okay, that's just me counting, looking down in there to be sure, and then I'll just trim that off. And I will get a piece of jute. I'm finding my center here in case you're wondering. This is kind of how I decide where the center is. Kind of pinch there. All right. Then that piece of jute, I'm just going to put it across the top, flip it over, and then tie a couple of knots into the back. I'm going to hold it nice and tight because I don't want my bow to loosen up, and I don't want my jute to be too loose because when we begin to fluff out this bow, I do not want to pull my bow apart. So it's very important here. All right, nice and tight. Now I'm going to make a tail, but you don't have to have tails on yours if you don't want to. I'm going to kind of push it around on the side, and if you want to make a different type of bow by, in your hand where the tails are already included, you can save yourself some time, go ahead and do that. I like to be sure to show everybody, no matter how long you've been crafting, little ways that you can do it. So we don't want to leave anybody out by doing anything too fancy on every project, right? We don't want anybody to feel excluded. So then you can just pull your little loops apart. I initially pulled them in this direction, and then I went back later and then just reversed the pull so that I had the ones that are on the top will then be on the bottom. It doesn't really matter either way. I decided that I liked the shorter bow tails here instead, but I wanted to show you both. That's easy. Got my little slant tail on there. It doesn't cover anything up. Everything looks good. So now I'm just going in with the leftovers that I had and just kind of picking those in here or there, giving it that wild, beautiful, rustic look that we all love. Hey, come check out my new videos on Mondays and Thursdays at 6 p.m. I'll see you in the comments. The next is going to be our Easter spring basket. So this is a basket that I have thrifted. I have used it in previous projects, but it's looking a little sad. It's very dry and it needs some conditioning. So I'm going to use a little clear wax to bring it back to life. Always clean first. It's easy to clean a basket with an old brush. I'm going to grab up some greenery. Use whatever brand, whatever type you like. I like that these have a little dark green and light green because it looks like new growth, which is perfect for spring. Some more of those eggs, a couple of leftover floral picks, and then some beautiful flowers. So I'm not sure what flower this is. You can tell me what this is. And then these beautiful cream and dark pink roses. They have sort of a waxed leaf. Absolutely beautiful. And I happen to have 3 of these, and they have 3 on each branch. They're all identical. So just to show you how to do this, in case you've never waxed your wicker or your baskets, you just take a brush and you're just going to dip down in there and go into all of the spaces on the basket, on the handle, on the bottom, all over. This is conditioning that wood that is used to make the baskets or the vine, or depending on what it is. And it's just going to bring that richness back and take that kind of paleness away. You can do this to your vine wreaths too if you would like. See the difference? Here and there, I'm kind of showing you both. All right, you're going to let that dry for a few hours and then go back with a dry, clean cloth. And remember, when you were doing this, rub with the weave of the basket so that you're not tearing and snagging your rag and damaging your basket. And then I think it looks so much healthier and better now. It's very nice and rich to me. This basket happens to have kind of a high side and a low side. It got a little bent, but you see to the left is the high side and the low side is here. So that's going to be the front. The other side will be the back. I'll take these fern pieces and start tucking these in. These are not the best quality, fine. They're very plasticky, but they came in a huge box that I got at Dirt Cheap. They have this new store next to Dirt Cheap where I have been going in a new location where they do like Amazon, Amazon? No, Amazon overstock. So they sell their things for like $5 and, well, my daughter was helping me shop and she found so many boxes of florals and greenery that I have just a tub of these and that boxwood or eucalyptus, whatever that is, that I will be adding next. Just, I couldn't even believe it for $5, right? Craziness. So I'm going to go all the way around the edge of the basket, about inch and a half apart with each one. Just fill it out. Nothing special or fancy about what I'm doing. In between each of those and a little toward the inside, I'm going to start a ring of these pieces of greenery. And I'll go all the way around. I don't want anything to be taller than the handle of my basket. It's still going to be our Easter basket, right? A very pretty Easter basket. A little play on it, though, because this is going to be more like a grown-up's Easter basket. Now I'm going to go in right in front of that, between those, and add in, just for a little more fullness. So two rows of that. And then this beautiful flower, I'm going to go ahead and trim it down. I'm going to cut the greenery off, but hang on to it because I'll be using that to put back into here later. Then I'll start adding down those pretty roses, cutting those down so that nothing, is totally covering up the handle. We worked hard to get that basket looking pretty, and I want to be sure that I can still see it. Then I'm going to add in another one. And since these are the same, I'm going to, kind of pull them around and position them differently so it's not really obvious that they're exactly the same. And then I'll finish up with the roses by putting one in the front. So we also have a triangular shape here on the top between the roses. 1, 2, 3, like an upside down triangle, right? And then the other flower on the other side. I'm just going to pick some of the greenery back in. You can always wrap and add extra greenery. You can use like a floral pick if you have short pieces to kind of extend it so it's a little bit longer. And whatever extra greenery I have, I'm going to add that back into there so I don't have any open spots. Now I'm added in the other greenery back into it. Just, why not? It looks pretty and wild and rustic, and I really like it. So now let's get some of those picks and put the eggs on them. And all my little picks were short, so I did have to go back, but you'll see that in a minute, and I will lengthen one of them. Add them in, just kind of turning that arrangement. Always, when you're doing a floral arrangement or an art piece, turn that thing back and forth. See what needs more, see what needs less, what can you reposition, what can you move. I'm going to just kind of fool around with the greenery. I want to make sure that everything is exactly as it should be. I don't want anything sticking out too far, anything that's too close. You get my drift. Kind of weave the greenery around each other and around, you could even do it around the handle of the basket to really make it pretty. So I'm just going to add a longer pick, and it's just a wood pick, and I'm going to add it right up here on this side just to finish this one off, and I like that much better. Thank you to all my channel members. You help my channel financially so everyone else can enjoy free content. You can find info on becoming a member in the description box below. The next project is an Easter Spring Book Trio. So we're going to get 3 projects out of this. These are a part of a banner from Temu. If y'all need links to anything that I'm showing you here, just feel free to question me in the comments and I'll grab them for you. You can use fabric or paper, you can use ribbons, all kinds of good stuff. You're going to need several paintbrushes, some paints. I love using chalk paint. Look at these beautiful, beautiful spring colors. These are gorgeous. So pretty. And then I've got these boxes that I got for Halloween because I thought these would be great for doing book stacks any time of the year. This one's actually it's hard, and the other one's more of a paper. You see, this one's stuck together. The other one will open. And I'm going to choose colors. So we've chosen the cards, and the colors all coordinate nicely with them. For some reason, the last few bottles that I have gotten of the chalk paint from Walmart have been like oily, and they require like a ton of mixing. Ew. Okay, so in between layers of paint, if you'll take a wet wipe and roll your paintbrush and set it aside, as long as you're not waiting for hours, you can grab that paintbrush and you'll still have a wet brush. You can use it again. To see, this one is so much better, but this one I got, I think, on Amazon. But again, same with the pink. Very streaky. I just don't get it. The blue and the peach here, I had to do 2 coats of, but not the green. When everything is completely dry, we'll be using Mod Podge to attach our beautiful card pieces or banner pieces down. Now I've chosen the ones that look best with the colors, kind of gotten them coordinated, and we're going to do something a little bit different to each book, okay? So we'll start with this one, and we're going to tear the edges of this. Now, hold your fingers up close to where you want your edge to be so you don't rip all the way down into your page, and that will make your tear exactly where you want it to be. Does that make sense to you? And then you see it's got all that chippy edge. Very pretty. And the paper part is sticking up, so when you put down your wax to age it, you're actually going to see how it clings to that paper underneath. So if you did make a mistake and you only want it on the edges, you could easily take a damp, just slightly damp baby wipe or paper towel and wipe that back off of your picture. But for me, the more aging, the better. So I'm going to continue around here and just build this up. And like I said, you can wipe off anything that you don't like. After the paper part is done, I'm just sort of blending it by putting little dots, just dotting my little finger all over that. And we're going to let it dry. Needs to be dry before you move on because we don't want to knock the wax back off, right? So we're going to put it aside, let it dry, and then we're going to put some Mod Podge on the book, and we can put the dried piece down. If you have a thing about exactness, you can go right ahead and measure, but I don't do that. So I'm just going to take my squeegee here and just kind of push it down into the Mod Podge. The reason I'm using the dishwasher Mod Podge instead of a regular Mod Podge is because it's a bit thicker, and I need something that is going to hold the thickness of this card in place or this banner piece in place. So it works well for that. Now using this sponge brush, I can kind of dab into it and just go all over the edge to hold it down. Plus, it's going to give a texture on the book, which you will see. You can feel it. You won't necessarily see it after it's dry, but when it's wet, you can see all the little peaks in there. It gives a very nice texture to your book. Okay, so we're going to let that dry. We're going to go on to the green one now. I'm going to use just this little shape that I believe I got this piece maybe from Dollar Tree, maybe. And I'm going to use it as a template on the back side. I'm going to cut it out because I couldn't find my pencil, so we used a pen. And then I'm going to go around the edge here, all the way around the edge, so the white paper is not going to show. It's going to be sort of outlined, I guess you could say. And then I'll use my finger dauber, and I'm just going to pat that around, pat, 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 all the way around until I get it almost like a cameo. I want that little girl to really stand out. I want the attention on her and the little chick that's on the bottom. You see she's holding a kitty. She's so cute. I love these little vintage cards. And then once that is dry, y'all look at the paint and stain on my hands. Isn't that craziness? That's what happens when you're dedicated to your job, though. You just wear it. I just wear the paint everywhere. Okay, so now I'm going to drop her down on there where I think I might want her. Then I thought, let's move it down a little bit. We don't have to be typical and put it in the center. Let's just move it down. And then I'm going to use my little squeegee again and try to get this in place. This little squeegee is a Mod Podge squeegee. Good grief. And it is kind of rubbery. It's not as hard as the other ones, so I don't have to worry about scratching my paint back off. Now, this one I'm just going to originally do by painting over it solid, and then I'm going to go back over and just dab it around in there. Dab, 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 and get that all over it. It's going to help keep those edges down for sure. I don't want any of that peeling, and it's also going to look consistent throughout the entire book cover. It's also going to be across the page. You didn't see that, but I went across her in that area too, and the inside of the card. Now it's for the one that actually opens, the little open box. We're going to put this little baby on here. There was no little baby boys, so that's why there's all girls here. I'm going to trim that down. So you saw I trimmed her down, and then I'm going to add this on here. You can't see a lot of the Mod Podge on there, but I assure you, there's a lot of Mod Podge on there. Just not enough that it's going to squish out when I try to do the squeegee. I'm not that messy. Not intentionally, anyway. I didn't do any aging on this card yet. So, like I said, I'm going to do everything a little bit different. No aging on this one yet. After I've got that down and I feel like it's sealed well on there, I'll go ahead and go around all of my edges, and then I'll go around the entire card. Keep it going, keep it going. You know, you could also use cards. If you found some Easter cards that you really like, even at Dollar Tree, you could certainly use that as for this. And you could always use like blocks of leftover wood to make your books if you wanted. So I thought I would try these doilies and just see if they would actually show up. Well, I'll tell you now that it does not show up very much at all, but I'm going to leave it in here because, you know, it is what it is. I'm just folding it over the edge to see how much I want on there. It is going to cover up the words Easter greetings, but, you know, that's okay. If you wanted to cover something up, that's the main idea here. If it was something that you want to cover, maybe it was a birthday card, but you really love the picture, but you wanted to cover up the happy birthday part, you could do it this way. And if you wanted this to be only spring and not Easter, then you could also possibly do it this way. But you can still see the writing through here. I put 3 different little sections or rows on this that says Easter greetings to make it look like overlapped lace or like a tier of lace. So here's the second one on there. And then there will be a third one. But I just could not, it just went right through and you can still see it. So it didn't necessarily work for me, but maybe I could have painted it underneath first and then done this. I don't know. Totally up to you whether you use this step or not. And if I would have used a glue stick on here, that might have been better too, because by saturating it like that, it just looks more like a frosted look on the corners. But you know, you live, you learn, and it's crafting, right? And I still like it. I still like it a lot. So these tiny, tiny little pieces that somebody went through all that effort to do, I have had in my stash of thrifted stuff for a long time. I think someone was attempting to put maybe a tablecloth or something together. Well, I never used it. And then I thought, well, I don't want to use it until I use it for something special because somebody really took a lot of time. But you know what, y'all? Look at it this way. It could sit in a cabinet somewhere or in a box somewhere, never be loved, never be seen or appreciated by the light of day or anybody. Or you can get those things out, give them new life, and enjoy them now. I want you to start thinking that way. Okay? If they once brought you joy in some way, and they apparently did for me if I picked them up, that means I really liked them, right? Then I need to use them. Bring them into my home now and use them for something that I really like. So I'm just using the Mod Podge to lightly tack these down. We need to let them dry, of course. And let's go back to the green book while it is drying. I'm going to take some of this very pretty Dollar Tree lacy ribbon, and I'm going to put down the bind of this book. I cut it a little bit bigger than I needed it because I want to be sure that when I glue it down, I don't have to stretch anything too tight, and I don't have to worry about, you know, when you glue something down and you don't measure, kind of like me, then you have a gap at the end and one side's overlapped. I don't want that. So if I leave a little bit extra, I'm not wasting, I feel like I'm saving my project, right? So I want enough that it's going to overlap and go down into the bind of the book. This is just me. If you don't want to do it this way, you can cut it off right across. Totally up to you, but I like the look of this. I'll do the same thing here. Protect your fingers, y'all. I've got this little spatula that came in a group of mini spatulas. Don't even remember where I got them from. They work good for these kind of projects too. Protecting my fingers. All right, so to decorate this book, I decided to use some of these beautiful stickers. I've picked up these rhinestone stickers and I knew I wanted to use them with some vintage or Victorian or some shabby chic stuff. And I love shabby chic in the springtime, y'all. It's not typically my thing, but in the springtime, it's just so appropriate, I think. So I'm just going to choose 3 that I really like, and I'm going to put those together. And I'm going to put this little purple one right on the side. Now, I like that. However, if you don't like that, you don't have to do that. You could use ribbon to go around the edge of your little girl there, or you could use it to go around the oval, whatever you want to do. Now I'm going to age the book. So I'm just using that same antique and wax. I'm going all over the edges, and I'm letting it kind of kick up there on the oval with the card in it. Go around, 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 around until I get it as aged as I like. Don't forget to do the back of your book. And of course, we're going to be doing the pages as well because those are a little too white and bright. I'm also going to do the side of the book, and I'm going to use a little bit of wax. It is barely any on this brush at this point. I don't want it to look like it fell in some mud. I just want it to look dirtied up, you know, like well loved. I guess y'all know what I mean. If you're watching my video, you know what I mean. And then I like to have the shadow toward the bind of the book and then kind of feather it out toward the side. It just gives a more authentic look, I think. It makes people take a second glance. Now look at this pretty ribbon I have. This has also been used in other projects. This I got thrifting. Pretty little flowers. And I thought, let's add just a strip of this down and then a couple of more strips on the front. It's a very pretty peachy tone. It's very nice. Same thing here. I trimmed off a little bit more than I actually needed. Once I get it glued in, you can go back in with some smaller scissors and you can trim off the parts that, you know, are overhanging a little bit. And then I'll go down the back or the spine of the book. Then I'm just showing you how I kind of trim that off. Then I'll cut a strip for the top and a strip for the bottom and attach that down with a little bit of hot glue. Protect your fingers for this part. I actually do use my little spatula over there, but I don't leave all of that in. I don't think y'all want to see everything I do in the video. I'm going to trim this off. And then I don't want it to fray, so after I get this top part done here, I'll show you what I do to keep it from fraying. I'm going to go right down over here, press it into place, cut off any of the excess, and then right where the edge is, you can add a little bit of glue there. Y'all, my kids are off for Mardi Gras break, and I am telling you, the phone calls are just interrupting all in this voiceover, so I hope y'all don't hear ringing. I hope I can cut it all out. Okay, next step. We're going to be aging this slightly. I'm not adding a lot of wax to that ribbon. I love the ribbon. I still have plenty left. Again, for people who love vintage things, they may be having a heartbreak right now watching me do that. But then I will always say to you, it can sit in a box or we can use it. Correct? Yes. Okay, same thing here. We're going to get in there and just really wipe that wax around. And y'all don't be afraid of wax. It's not paint. You can wipe it back if you get too much on, okay? Here she is, looking all cute and Eastery and old, like an old school book. So sweet. So on the inside of the one that is the box that opens, you can take some decorative paper or some scrapbook paper or whatever you have. If you want to open it up to use it, put little treasures in, or maybe hide some candy in. Reese's peanut butter cups, y'all. You know, if you want to do something like that, you can. If not, you can glue the top shut. Okay. Now I'm aging the side too. I'm aging the little doilies there. I know that's not what they are, but we're gonna call it that. So I have some verbiage for it. I'm going to go all the way around my edges. Also going to do that on the inside of the box because I want the entire thing to be, you know, consistent all the way through. And this is how this one is going to look. So these are the projects that we did today. I got 5 projects for you, all new for Easter, and I hope this is something that you enjoy. So who would like to help me reach 100,000 subscribers this year? If you would like to be part of that number, consider subscribing to my channel. Give me a like and hit that notification bell so you don't miss anything in our community post or that's going on in this channel. I wanted to remind you today, just like we make unique pieces on this channel, I wanted to remind you that you're unique. You're unique, you're special, you're wanted, you're important, you're valued. I appreciate that you come to my channel and you spend time over here watching me, listening to me just blather on about who knows what. But I always find it important to tell you that you can do things because I don't want anybody to feel like they can't. I don't want anybody to give up on anything. I want you to learn that there's really nothing that you can't do if you set your mind to it. It is important to me to make people feel better through crafting, to make people feel appreciated, important, and heard. And when you come to this channel, I really do hope that that's what you feel when you're here. It's not to me just about making crafts and about showing you how to do things. No, that's not all it is to me. It's letting you know that I care. It's creating a sense of community and giving you the value that you want. And I thank you so much today for stopping by. I'll see you soon. Bye.